Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, good.
All right, thank you. Oh, no, she doesn't
She
need
doesn't, so none
to
of
sign
you.
it.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars to get there.
Good. He's right.
And he said after
I didn't-
they said
yeah.
5 years after you've done it.
She could still sign it underneath it, because
Seven.
I believe the clerk should also.
Mr. Rooney, are you with us?
Okay, we'll talk tomorrow.
I'm good.
Thank you so much, sir. Please stand by.
All set? All right, call this meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bogas.
Here.
Councilmember Carr.
Here.
Mayor Gibson.
Here.
Councilmember Fullick.
Here.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Councilmember Corey.
Here,
Deputy Mayor Purdon. And he asked to be excused for the budget workshop.
Okay. Do we need to approve Chris for the workshop or just for the main meeting?
Or both.
There's no action being taken, so
Okay.
just for the main meeting.
Just for the main meeting,
Okay.
there's no action, yeah.
All right, sounds good. We'll start out with public comment.
Good afternoon, City Council and Mr. Mayor. My name is Kyle Moran of Feltz Avenue in downtown Bonita Springs. And as you know, we have a lot of gratitude for the great work of this incredible staff and for you as elected leaders for all you've done to really improve our downtown. The progress is amazing. We're transforming that area from a lot of rundown, underutilized or non-utilized buildings where crime had a place to a place where families enjoy themselves. There are smiling folks every day and every night down there. And despite that progress, we have this interesting problem. There's a lot of unease in the community right now. And it's understandable because a lot of our downtown is quite literally under construction, right? You see those big blockades that are sort of disguising what's happening behind those walls. And we hear such ridiculous things as the city's going to remove the banyan tree when quite opposite is happening. They're highlighting that in a really beautiful way and activating that area for something that can be enjoyed by people of all ages and something that can make our community quite proud. We're building something wonderful there. The city, of course, with private industry, as well as the city's own private partners. And when we build that something wonderful, we'll avoid a really worst case scenario, a scenario where Amazon and the like quite literally take our jobs, close our businesses, occupy our streets with self-driven vehicles that are fueled by robot-run warehouses. We have a great downtown. We insulate ourselves from that. But it's important to address that unease by keeping it up. And I know this budget cycle is as challenging as any we've faced in a long time, with the threat of a difficult vote, in the overhang and a reduction in revenues. But at this critical point, we've got to continue to reassure the public, address that unease, keep up with these great events, keep up with the strolls. These events are the envy of Southwest Florida, and you continue to have this amazing downtown that gets improved every day. So that investment is important to keep up the momentum and offset the unease in the community. I appreciate all of you. Thanks.
Thank you.
everything went dark.
But we can still hear you.
I'm not hearing anything.
Same here.
It's probably your wife's
Hey,
fault.
can you hear us at all?
No, he can't hear us.
No.
Antonio, you got that?
No.
Am I waiting for what's going on, or no?
Well, he wants to hear you, I know.
Is everything still dark? All right.
Everything's still dark. No voice. Only thing I see is now I see a square with my name in it. Now I see a gray square with a computer's, I guess, image.
We get blow by blow.
Well, all I see now is City of Bonita Springs and a square logo.
Making progress.
It's-
Don't be nervous, Gary.
Oh, I'm not nervous. You know me. I'll stand here all day if I have to.
That's a very valid question, yeah.
Yeah.
I have it on my phone as Gary from Georgia. I think the meeting's gonna be long enough. I think we should move on.
How about those Everblades with the Kelly Cup?
Go Blades.
Talk about that.
4 in 5 years.
Unbelievable.
Like winning the Stanley Cup 4 times in 5 years. It's pretty amazing. I know somebody on council who actually stayed up for that
He was
second
there.
overtime.
He's gonna have to shave soon or no?
Maybe.
Is this like the old days where the test pattern just goes up on your TV?
So how long do we wait?
Antonio said give him a couple minutes, so.
Because he'll read it in a minute. It'll be transcribed on YouTube. Oh,
Yeah, but it might go beyond that, though.
Like, worst case scenario, call him on my cell phone and put him on speaker.
I think we can do over the phone through the back.
We're doing. Right? Yeah.
We've got Derek
Oh,
on
okay.
Zoom too, so.
Can I control
that's
the
right.
mouse here?
Do we know if Derek can hear us?
He said
Yeah,
he
he said
can't.
he couldn't either.
He couldn't either. Oh, shit.
Gary's trying to.
I was going to speed this along since we're.
Yeah, Gary, come on, try and wind it up, would you?
It's clicking through them.
Man, how's the splash pad going?
Pretty good.
Is it?
Yeah, they're, the From a maintenance perspective, they go in a, I did not realize, like a cartridge.
Saw that up in the
It's
Carolinas.
the lights and the maintenance, and that's really where the color is.
Meeting again. Okay. All right, Chris, thanks.
Right.
Should have Derek and Councilman Carter for radio.
You guys
But
can
I
hear us
don't
now?
hear
Okay.
anything.
You don't hear us, Chris?
Now I can hear you, Mike, a little bit.
Okay, yeah, well, we had stopped the meeting, so we're gonna start now. All right, back to public comment. Gary, all you.
Thank you. Hello, council, mayor. My name is Gary Rudd. I am South Riverside Drive, Bonita Springs, managing partner at Sugar Shack downtown, and it's nice to see everyone here. I just wanted to say that a lot of a little bit of what Kyle said, but specifically in the park with the strolls and the lights and decorations and things, it's, going there during with some of my kids and over the holidays with not just the snow, but everything that we were able to interact with and walk around with. A lot of.
I can't hear the meeting, Antonio. I can just hear you talking.
Okay, I think that the only meeting is just me talking. Is it me talking, or you can't hear anything?
I was just hearing Antonio talking and covering up what I could hear of the meeting.
Okay,
Same here.
well, that's Gary doing public comment.
Oh, okay, never mind. You guys can't hear us. Never mind. We're being quiet now.
All right, I'll wrap this up. So.
Please.
All right. So, I would just like to see more with the decoration, the lights, and with the budgets and things coming up, and understanding of what's going on. But it's become vital for all of us at downtown, also at Sugar Shack, and just people to be walking around and feel safe at night. And so that's been important for us, and just really thank everyone for what they've done to do that. And I would hate to see some of that go away. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other public comment?
Hi, I am Becky Thompson, and I am with Sugar Shack Downtown and leader there. Thank you to the council and to Mayor Mike for allowing us to speak today. Being a part of the Bonita Springs community has been a big part of my life. I am a fifth generation Floridian, Southwest Florida. And so Bonita's always been an area that we would, come to and seek things out to do. So I was extremely excited to be able to jump on board with Sugar Shack and watching Bonita Springs start to reinvent itself again and really bring it back to what it was back in the glory days. And I would like to see things to continue to grow, the strolls, the lights. It's extremely exciting to be down here in the evenings when different events are going on. And so hopefully we can continue to keep those things. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Grace Mulholland, and I am lucky enough to be part of the Sugar Shack Downtown team. I am soon to be a homeowner here on the 22nd, and seeing Bonita change and grow is absolutely amazing. Seeing how the strolls bring the families together and all the lights and the decorations, it gives them something to look forward to, and I think that we need to keep that up. In doing so, you'll bring more people here, and we will just continue to show everybody that Bonita is an amazing place to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace and Becky. Anyone else? All right. We will move on to the overview of the budget.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At this time, our Finance Director has an overview of the operating budget, and then we will take an opportunity to get some questions and some feedback from you all, and then move into the capital improvement budget as well today. And again, this is a workshop. It is being broadcast live, but there is no formal decisions to be made, but we will be looking for general direction and any clarifications you have of us as well.
Good evening. We're here tonight to present the preliminary budget. for the 26-27 fiscal year. What you have before you is our budget calendar. This is our initial official budget meeting, workshop, if you will. And as you have before you, this is the steps we will take officially up until adoption on September 23rd. This does follow Florida statutes timeline requirements. So today at 4 p.m. you're going to be presented, and it's on our in our packet, a preliminary budget presentation. July 15th at 9 a.m. that will be your preliminary millage rate vote and the stormwater utility fee vote. The millage rate vote, that's the first of three votes. Then in the upcoming meetings thereafter, August meetings, both meetings will have budget updates. That's to continue to bring you economic data. We continue to receive data from the state as we move forward. What you have before you tonight is the June 1 estimate from the Lee County Property Appraiser. July 1st, we'll get a different estimate. So again, we bring you updates at each meeting as we move forward to adoption. For September, we needed to change our meetings so that we could still have 2 meetings, but we'll have them on the 2nd and the 4th Wednesday. And we do need to have them after 5:01, so we selected our traditional time for an evening meeting of 5:30. That is a change to our calendar. We've published this and we have this out on our website. The draft budget before you follows our strategic priorities that were set by
Lisa,
city.
could I just ask, you said that the millage was its primary set on the 15th of July. Is also the stormwater utility, is it the first time or is that the set fee?
The only one, right?
The stormwater utility fee just requires legally 1 vote, and that will be July 15th, and you'll be setting that for the next fiscal year. And then it should be mentioned that that preliminary millage rate vote that'll happen July 15th, that'll be the maximum millage rate that you can set. When the 2 meetings thereafter, you could reduce the millage rate, but you cannot go any higher.
Right.
Great. So our strategic priorities are laid out before you, and they're in our budget document and on our website. The first priority is improve stormwater management and resiliency. 2, improve vehicular and multimodal transportation network. 3, enhance community aesthetics, parks, and facilities. 4, environmental protection. 5, strengthen our city finances. 6, government transparency and efficiency. And 7, economic development. Our draft budget that you have before you are based upon the following. A millage rate vote at the current rate, 0.8470, and our stormwater utility fee at the current rate. I'm going to show you some graphs now. These are in your packet, and they're online in the packet. This is a pie of total revenues by category. Please note that this includes regular operating revenue and your restricted revenue. As you can see on here, grants are 11%. That's a significant percent of our total city budget. That allows us to provide some funding for some of our capital improvement projects. So this gives you an idea of the compensation of our revenues citywide. Total expenditures by function, and this is for the entire city. The functions are the categories that the state requires us to use, and it's consistent with all other local governmental entities reporting. So you see those categories there. What we show you in our budget format, which is consistent with other budget formats, we show you prior year actual, current year budget, the current year that we're in, and then we give you an expected for this current year, and then we give you the proposed budget for next fiscal year. Total revenues by fund type. The blue here is our general fund. That's our regular recurring operating revenues. And then our special revenues are in orange. You'll notice that the spikes there are primarily related to grants that we receive for our capital improvement projects, as well as impact fees. As we know, impact fees are when someone comes across the street and to do a building permit fee, and that is actually very economically driven. So if the housing market has a tick up or some commercial construction happens, that's when we see those types of spikes, which are expected. And the other one is capital projects, which we partner with, this is actually partnering with BSU to do some septic to sewer conversions, which are not regular recurring in nature and are capital, funding some capital projects. Total expenditures by fund type. The initial data set is the general fund, which is our regular recurring operating fund. You have special revenues, debt service, and capital projects. Your capital project funds will fluctuate significantly from year to year. By Florida law, we are required to budget for our capital project in one fiscal year, but then it may take a few years for us to actually design and build that. General fund revenues. This pie chart is just of our regular recurring operating revenues. It gives you an idea of the composition by category, significant category of the types of revenues that we utilize to fund our day-to-day operations. General fund expenditures. These are again, our regular recurring operating expenditures by function, again, the category that the state requires us to use. And you can see the composition there. And all of these graphs are in your packet as well. Debt service, a very good news piece slide. As you can see here, we only have 2 bank loans currently for our downtown redevelopment and our land acquisition that we did. And what we show you here is your regular recurring debt service. And then we also show you the debt balance, which is outstandingly low for the type of size of city that we have. And we also provide for you here our local government emergency bridge loan. The state provided us those funds, and we have them in the bank. They are available for the city to use for operations in times if we have a natural disaster or some other kind of disaster. As you can see down there, the bullet is actually giving our partnership with Lee County its proper due. Lee County was able, we entered an agreement with Lee County for our downtown redevelopment capital improvement program. Lee County contributed their growth money from their real estate taxes, and the city contributed their growth money. That was a win-win situation. They did max out, Lee County, at $9.6 million. They paid their maximum amount for the debt service, and that is sitting in the bank for us to pay the remaining debt service. Historic outstanding debt for the last 10 years. This is another good news piece. As you can see, our long-term debt has been trending downward. That means the balance that we owe for those bank loans. And future debt service for the next 10 years. Decreasing as well at this point. The spike there in 33-34 would be the year that we pay the $2 million back to the state for the disaster reserves, which again is sitting in the bank. Hopefully we won't have to use it, and then we can pay them back at that time. Capital projects expenditures by strategic priority. These are the amounts that are in your year 1 of your capital improvement program by strategic priority, to give you an idea of how we're allocating those funds, how we propose to allocate those funds. You have seen the next few slides before. We presented them to you at the last meeting. This is the June 1st estimated value that we received for our property taxes. This is the taxable value, and as you can see, the city is almost flat, 0.98% increase in our taxable value, and we do like to show you all the other taxing authorities within the county. As you can see, Fort Myers Beach has been growing back from Ian, so that's the reason why they have moved like that. Some of the other entities have had significant amounts of new construction. Taxable property value citywide. This is a graph showing you what the numbers we were talking about before, showing you the change. As you can see, for the city of Bonita Springs, it is relatively flat from the prior year. This is our good news slide. This is our taxable property value for downtown only. And this shows that the property values, taxable values in downtown continue to grow. As we talked about, citywide stayed kind of flat. You can see that downtown, the investment is still going up there. This is real estate taxes just value. The property appraiser sets a just value. That's the value that actually parallels the sales price. So as you can see here, as we've been talking about and we've been reading in the newspaper, our sales values for real estate pretty much countywide have been going down. They also went down last year, with the exception of Fort Myers Beach, as you talked about before, they've been adding back property to their tax rolls. Just value citywide. What this shows you is the last couple of years, our just value has declined slightly. We haven't shown you this before. We were able to get the tax rolls from the property appraiser, and the latest that's available is 2025. So we're going to show you some analysis that's based on the latest data available 2025. So this is our taxable value, and we did it by category. We have primarily real estate property, which we've just been talking about. There's also some personal property and some centrally assessed property. And we're showing you the percentage of increase there from the prior year, 0.98. And this shows you, did I go backwards? Oops, excuse me, there you go. So real estate property by category. Our residential is 90% of our taxable value. Our commercial is 9%, and other non-classified is 1%. Of our real estate taxable values, our homestead makes up 39% of our total taxable value. Non-homestead makes up 61% of our taxable value. Now, just for a moment, I want to talk about the change, the column that we put there, the change from the prior year. Our homestead values actually went up 4.64%, and that's higher than the note down there talks about. As we're all aware, Save Our Homes caps the taxable value, and it's either the lesser of the consumer price index or 3%. So it can never go up over 3%. And the reason that this goes up over that 2 point, and it's actually, excuse me, for the 2025, it was 2.9%. And that's because additional properties are getting into that homestead category. And the non-homestead property, the decrease here, this is what we basically saw on the just value for the last 2 years. We knew, sales prices have been declining in our area, and this is a reflection of that. We actually see that there. New construction taxable value. As we talk about quite regularly, our city is close to build out. So this is a reflection of that. We only had about 1.2 and 1.4% new construction in the last 2 fiscal years. And we don't foresee that changing significantly. There might be some spikes here and there as certain pieces come on board, but as we talk about, we are closer to build out than some of the other entities, taxing authorities. This is an allocation of our total tax bill. This is in your budget each fiscal year. This is based on 2025, which is the latest data we have available. So the city of Bonita Springs is 6.6% of your tax bill. As we do during each budget process, we make a tax projection from the taxes that were assessed in 2025. And then we escalate. We use a Save Our Homes property example. We give you some values, and we actually project where it would be if the tax rate was constant. And you can see the increases there for the 2026 tax increase. Those are to give you examples of an idea of an impact on an individual household. Operating and disaster reserves. Our operating reserves in the budget that you have is $6.2 million. Those are based upon 4 months of operating expenses for the last 2 fiscal years. And we've calculated it for our budget. That's the amount that we have. Our disaster reserves, you see them here, that's $3.2 million. You see that asterisk? We have included, per the direction of City Council, in our capital improvement program to add $400,000 per year to those disaster reserves, so that will continue to increase as long as those are approved in the capital improvement program. Now, we are still waiting on a tiny amount of money, and when you say tiny, considering that Ian cost us about $10.5 $5 million. I think you're going to see it. There may be some Milton and Helene in there as well. We're still waiting on FEMA to give us about $662,000. When we're waiting for reimbursement, that is funded out of our disaster reserves. And if needed, our operating reserves would help us out as well. And we also, as we spoke about earlier, we have our local government emergency bridge loan, our $2 million sitting there. So our total operating and disaster reserves, as proposed for this preliminary budget, are $10,738,000. We wanted to give you a history of our general fund unrestricted fund balance, which include the disaster reserves that we talked about, their operating reserves, as well as unassigned fund balance. So you've seen this before, but the new data is projected there for 26-27. It includes the amounts we talked about from the prior slide, and then it also includes a projected unassigned fund balance of $3,779,800. So that brings the projected 26-27 unrestricted fund balance to $14,517,800. And again, we talk about how we do have in the capital improvement program, we have $400,000 additionally to be allocated to the disaster reserves. Emergency financial plan. According to Florida statutes, we're going to have a few slides that we're required to have. They're going to be a little dry, so I apologize, but it's an exercise that's valuable. So what we're going to do, they encourage us to look at our and reestablish our emergency financial plan. What we talk about here is we participate in the Florida Recovery Obligation Calculation, FROC, which means we developed an emergency financial plan and we review it each year in our budget process. Our city's emergency financial plan, we're going to review potential costs for a major disaster. We're going to talk about strategies to provide additional funding if we project we need it, and then we're going to look at potential disaster cost. The Florida statute specifically wants us to talk about strategies that include increasing the disaster or operating reserves if needed, and reviewing priorities in the budget and other short-term borrowing. So this is our slide that shows our two most significant storms in recent history, and it gives you a total cost, and we give you the year there too, because we know if we're going to talk about taking these costs and utilizing them as a projection, we're going to have to add some inflationary factors in there. And it's so important that we use some historical cost from the city, because each response for each entity is significantly different cost-wise. So what we have here is, as required by Florida statute, we have a funding review. So what we've done is we've taken the historical hurricane costs from Ian, we've adjusted for inflation for the current budget year, and we've come up with about $11.2 million. And as we've been talking about the last few slides, what's available to fund that now is projected to be $14.7 million. So we do not show any type of concern here. Please note that by putting that $11.2 million in there, that's in no way a projection of any hurricane costs going forward. It's just the exercise that we need to do for Florida statutes and to ensure we believe we have sufficient funding. Yes?
Lisa, if I may, you know how
Yes,
I
sir.
feel about the reserve fund.
Yes, sir.
This doesn't say that we're adequately, we're getting there. And I don't want anybody to think that we have enough reserve funds now. That's a big concern that people think that, because it's not true.
Yes, yes, that's a good point. Okay, and what you have before you is our,
Just to comply with Florida statutes.
Right.
that's why we have
I
to
wanna
do
be
that
clear,
exercise.
Because this will be part of our record with the FROC program, but to be in compliance with Florida statutes, we're adequate at this
If I
time.
remember, Councilman Corey did some great research about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago on what we really want to have and what we do have as a city, not by state statute or what they want, but what we feel would be appropriate. We're not there yet.
Yes. And as I did speak about, I'm not going to say I'm a disaster recovery expert by any means, but we have a significant amount of property, coastline, you know, all the other challenges that we have that make our needs maybe a little more significant than some other needs that may not, some other areas that may not have the type of risk and the type of response that we're going to be required to have.
And there may not be the federal and state funds that there were historically.
Yes, sir, that is always a continued concern. And we do have to wait on average 18 months to receive funds from FEMA, and that's if they're authorized to obligate on a regular basis. Thank you. I'm very close to wrapping up, so our continuation budget, what we show you all each year, and this is in your packet, so it's a little small, so I apologize for that, but what we do is we show you, we give you the percentage of increase for the continuation budget. It means if the same level of service is proposed for next fiscal year, what's the increase in cost? So this year, 1.75% increase. And then the items that are listed here are additional request items, so that a level of service above what you have currently that are in the proposed budget. Please note that quite a few of these relate to new facilities, operational cost. We have the Lightner Creek Soccer Complex that's coming online. We project to come online next fiscal year. You have the operating costs there, and you have a new piece of equipment we're going to need to purchase to operate that facility. And then the Banyan Tree Park, again, a new facility, operating cost is indicated there. The Bonita Springs Soccer Complex, I believe there's a new mower there for that. And then the Imperial 41 Park, that's also a new facility that's projected to come online, and we have some operating costs reflected from that.
Lisa, that $39,135 for the Banyan Tree Park, that includes the operating expenses for the splash pad as well?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that is the new facility we're talking about.
So the full year impact of that going forward is not 39, it's what a year? Ballpark.
There she is.
So Nicole Perino, Parks and Recreation Director. So for the new facilities that are coming online, what I had to do, because these are brand new to us, especially the Banyan Tree, because we don't currently have a splash pad. So I did do research in all the local splash pads. I reached out to Lee County, I reached out to Collier County, everyone that has a splash pad, used their operating numbers, but given that they're older facilities and ours is going to be new. So these are the numbers that we came up with. But again, these are best guess based on what operating costs are of the other facilities.
Is that the full year impact or just prorated for the months that were open in 27?
This one is a little prorated, so it will be a little higher. We are expecting probably around the 60-65 range as a typical year.
So on Banyan Tree, you're saying that would typically be $65,000 a year?
Possibly.
Best guess.
Yes.
And likewise for the other new facilities coming in, ballpark?
So Leitner, that would be the soccer complex, that would be a full year's cost, and that is based on our current facility of the Bonita Soccer Complex, which is very similar in size.
Okay.
So that one would be a full cost.
So is there any incremental full year impact from Riverside or Imperial 41 Park?
Imperial 41, that's only giving you 3 months because they have given us only about a 3-month time frame in next year's budget. So the park portion coming online in July of 2027. So that is based on just 3 months. So that would, of course, be 4 times that number. But that is still yet to be bid out. That is per our agreement with Barron Collier. We pay a percentage based on the park land, and then they pay a percentage based on their development.
Okay.
That's a cost sharing.
So we just have to consider the full year impact of those projects as we go years forward.
Correct. And Riverside Park, that should be a full year because those increases are based on the additional landscaping and the turf maintenance. So that, again, is our best guess on turf maintenance based on other facilities.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So these costs are included in the proposed budget. So
Yes.
those are recommendations to move forward with, and they're included in the current budget as well.
Yeah. My only concern was ongoing, what like would that be in 28 and beyond, that type of stuff. That's my thought.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Basically, my concern was operating beyond next fiscal year, the full year impact in 27, 28 and beyond. So Banyan Tree Park is probably a $80,000 or $90,000 a year type maintenance program. And like I said, as we look at our revenues long-term, just trying to weigh that in our decisions as we go forward.
Thank you.
All right. Any discussion so far, or move on to the?
Well, I'm not gonna make Nicole come back up to the stand, but you could nod your head. If I remember correctly, the resodding every year when we'd resod Riverside Park, wasn't that around 32, 35,000? More than that.
Yes.
So that's the good news.
Yes, a complete resod of the bandshell lawn was approximately $80,000
And our
a year.
total cost for maintaining the artificial turf, what I saw was about $30,000.
Correct.
Good job, Nicole.
Thanks.
Right. Any other discussions? Okay, we'll move on to capital improvement.
So if you'll turn to page 91, what staff has done is provided a copy of the capital improvement plan. We have provided the project phase so that you can see where we are within the phase of the project, whether it's planning, design, construction. Of course, a change in direction on any of these projects depends on where we are in phase and scope and what contracts have been authorized already. We've also identified them as their categories, and starting with the number one category, improve stormwater management and resiliency, which is the first strategic priority. And then we move through each of the categories as well. Your directors and staff are here. If there's any of these you'd like to, we can walk through them individually, or is there any ones that you'd like to ask a status of? Additionally, once we complete the budget process, we will be asking again in November to begin the capital improvements workshops with you all, where we take each of these strategic priorities and go through each of them line by line in more detail, and also make suggestions for prioritization, which is what the results of these are from your budget workshops that we had in the fall and early January, where you gave us direction on projects you wanted us to start to prepare for and budget for, and that's where the process began with these.
Just one question, Arlene. The, on page 91, it says to be determined, Central Bonita Springs neighborhood home elevation, is that multiple districts, primarily 2 and 5? Oh, Matthew.
I don't want to speak out of turn, but it's really two locations. There's the Central Bonita project, which was presented to you the other day because we had the funding agreement. That's kind of along the corridor of District 5, along the river.
Right.
And then the second one that got funded, which was really the other major project, is, I believe, in District 2. It's a smaller project, but it is out off of
So that was my question.
Imperial
So 2
Shores.
districts, 5 and 2.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Those are the ones the only two
Right.
we've received the authority on. That's not to say we've understand that there could be future approvals, and we'd have to bring that back to council. So we're happy to walk through each of these, or if there's any specific ones you'd like us to address. And if Matt, if you just want to do a brief overview of stormwater for them.
Sure. Excuse me. Within the stormwater, the environmentally sensitive land acquisition is really kind of a placeholder. So, in the event that some sensitive lands came really to the city, we don't go out and solicit for that city council would like to acquire.
It was also a prioritization of former council when we were looking at Hurricane Irma issues and whether or not there was appropriate lands that should be dedicated for stormwater in the future.
Acquisition and demolition of HMGP COVID. COVID caused a lot of flooding, as you're well aware. No, it was a grant program through FEMA, through the HMGP program related to COVID. That is very similar to your home elevation HMGP program. It's the same type of grant out of FEMA, which, the primary caveat is you had to identify up front the participants, and there is no substitution. So we've been working through, of the list that we had out of the COVID folks, they come through on city council items here and there, but it is a set list, and some of them dropped out, but I don't remember how many homes off the top of my head, but that program has been ongoing, and it will come to a conclusion as those properties that were pre-identified and pre-registered either participate or don't. The equipment storage facility is a storage facility for primarily to provide protection from the environment of some large hydraulic pumps that we have in the event that we have another flooding casualty along the lines of Irma. Right now, those things sit out in the open and are exposed to the elements. So this project, which is just now wrapped up the design and should go to construction here pretty shortly, will provide a more permanent protection location for those pieces of equipment. The stormwater master plan update is currently out on the street for proposals. That will provide an update to the city's kind of two computer models. One is a warning model, but really it's an update to the underlying computer model that predicts flooding events and shows you what the results would be. Incorporated in that modeling is then, once you know where the flooding areas are, based on the existing stormwater infrastructure and land development patterns, you can then identify conceptual projects and game out cost effectiveness or effectiveness of those projects. So that is a piece of this study, will be to update the model and then identify areas of concern, and then identify potential solutions that the city council may pursue that would show up, in future budgets as fully funded funded projects.
So, Matt, to clarify on that then, the project is focused on the model identifying the risk areas, but no specific projects. It's basically saying we've got areas of risk that we need to discuss further.
No. It will identify the areas of risk, which we already know because we already have models, but it will refine, with what's changed. And then they will come up with conceptual projects and say, what if we do X here in this area? What if we do Y? What if we do Z? And so there is an identification of projects. Is that a fully developed, fully refined project? No, but it will give you projects that you would then, consider for merit for introduction into your CIP.
And this, based time-wise, would probably be sometime at the end of next fiscal year?
I think we'll have somebody on board probably as we come into the fall, would be my guess, to do the study. The first bit of the work will be updating the model, which is kind of technical. And then they'll be probably talking to us and city council about projects, I would guess in the spring, summer.
I do want to clarify, though, some of the projects they might identify as you get further in the process of analysis, they're not due. So this is something that occurred after Ian, where we identified some problem areas, looked at a very high-level scope of some potential projects, but in the real world, those projects were not able to be completed or done for many different reasens. So that actually led to another set of review, which created some smaller projects where we could make some manageable changes. So I don't want to guarantee that the projects that are identified are fully designable or fully just identified projects, maybe the beginning point, and we have to continue to work the solution.
So it would provide enough information to have a formal workshop type scenario.
Correct.
To discuss.
Correct.
The priorities from that.
Yes. So for example, I can walk you through one is we looked at, Logan Boulevard as we continue to work through process. Right. The larger scale project that could have been identified for millions of dollars was not doable. But
the good news about that is it identified a shortcoming
Correct.
Within a community system that wasn't being operated correctly. So we can help them know to operate it, at the right time. Another really good example which you may consider, but it, is it funding-wise may be difficult to fund in the short term, is levees along the Imperial River for some of the flood areas. So that's been identified. I'm sure it'll come up in this. Is it really probably what you financially will be able to pursue on day one?
Right.
Not likely, but it'll identify those problems and what those solutions are, as well as smaller things that you might
I
wanna
guess what I
pursue.
hear is that a year from now, when we're talking about projects and capital projects and that type of stuff, that we would have something that provides meaningful meat to be discussed for possible funding.
I think that you will have those concepts. A year from now, you may be still talking to the consultant about what those results are. So you'll probably know what the ideas are, but they might still be
So it's 2
finishing
years
up there.
out before we integrate that into capital plans.
Well, I don't want to put words in the consultant's mouth, and we're selecting them as we
We're
speak.
being realistic, so,
Right.
I mean, that's what I'm just trying to do.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
So the Imperial Harbor Stormwater Master Plan is a similar concept. I think the citywide may look at some of those issues and be able to point towards that. So that one would follow, after probably the citywide work, because the citywide work would be capturing some of that information as well. Spring Creek, Bonita Springs Golf Course is really wrapped up. Those dollars there, you may recall, are for the, some of those dollars are there for the folks that were concerned about the aesthetics of their ponds. We have had one community that did, take us up on what the city council had offered. We'll see if more do or don't. But that's really what those funds are remaining there for. The Quinn Downs Dean west of Imperial project is some of the infrastructure you would need, Councilman Fitzpatrick, for like levees along the Imperial River. So if future councils were ever to pursue that, or flood walls, you need stormwater infrastructure in place that would allow for it. It was a fully grant-funded project. It's under construction right now, and it really provides that benefit in the long term. We were able to do some home acquisition with it for pond sites, so we were able to get some flood-prone structures out of the floodway, and we are installing backflow prevention, which on a minor event, flooding, a riverine flooding event might provide some protection, but when you get an overtopping of the entire creek bank, which is what occurred in Irma, absent some kind of physical barrier, it's not going to provide that protection.
I know the county has this grand plan for a big old berm out my way.
It's actually a low berm, but it's a big, long berm.
A little old berm along Bonita Grand. Does that have any impact or bearing upon the study and what we do going forward? And how will we integrate the county into that process?
Yes, it would, should that project fully be completed. The county is looking at building pieces of it.
Right.
It really doesn't, I don't want to speak for their project, but it doesn't become effective for Bonita until you build the entire piece. We would certainly look at that in this modeling and in the piece, because I think it is important to understand what the benefit would be for Bonita. And it would be significant in those flood-prone areas that we saw during Hurricane Irma.
Right.
And it would prevent us from having to try and acquire property and build a very extensive infrastructure system.
No, it's fine. I
levees
just want to
and
make sure
flood
don't have to redo our work for.
Oh, no.
And to share that county staff has informed us that they're going to keep us apprised of that process as well on a staff level. And additionally, in the past, City Council has provided letters of support for legislative and grant requests that the county has made towards the completion of the berm.
And we wouldn't, I think to answer your question a little more succinctly, we wouldn't have to go model the entire county. We would get the information from the work that they did to identify the benefit of that and incorporate it into ours instead.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're leveraging what they're doing as to what the risk points may be coming out of this whole thing. Okay, thank you.
You kind of hit the, do you want to, unless there's anything specific on here, if
The-
you wanted
the-
to move on to transportation, you could.
Sure, the bioreactor is kind of wrapping up. its final phase. That's a water quality project, and we do have water quality mandates, so, there will be projects in the future, that will come onto this list that will be of that nature. Transportation-wise, the Beach Road Quadrant is a roadway that connects Windsor Road to US 41 behind the shopping center that has Publix in it. It really hinges on some, it's fully permitted and fully designed. It hinges on some property acquisition. Derek and myself have been going back and forth with the parcel owner that we need the property from. I believe we're close, very close.
One or two?
It's two small pieces. It's the same property owner, though.
Same owner.
Yeah. So, until we get a legal agreement, we've been going back and forth with a legal agreement for years. But I believe we're at the final death throes of this. If that comes to fruition, we'll put it out to bid for construction.
The Bonita Beach Road visioning implementation, you see we kind of pushed that a little bit. That was result of the DPZ and tool design group. So if private projects came on it made sense within our public right-of-way to make improvements, as the goal was eventually to have an addition to the Sun Trail was along the beach corridor, or roadway improvements to continue the vision. But as there's no direct projects right now, we've pushed that out a little bit from before.
Pelican Landing, Old 41, US 41, and intersection improvements. I would like to throw another road name in there, but there's just not enough character length. Those are improvements on both the east and really the west side of the old US 41 intersection in the north part of the city with US 41. They are fully designed. We are in a permitting process with FDOT. As recently as a week ago, a letter was sent back and forth to them saying, we believe we've submitted everything, we need your permits. Should their permits come forward, it should be any day now, then we would move to bidding it for construction and move into the construction phase. But it really has been in this FDOT permit review really since the first of the year, and it's been a slower process than we would have liked on that end, but I think we're close. Sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing here.
The multi-use paths, that's CDBG grant funds. Typically, we've utilized that. That is the allotment we get from the federal government, that we work with Lee County to provide that funding to us, and we have been utilizing that in the low to moderate income communities that are able to apply that funding to.
We don't think that money's in danger in any way, shape, or form?
We've not heard that at all. In fact, you just recently renewed your agreement with Lee County, and the reason we work closely with Lee County is they have the administrative staff, so that helps us process the applications. You don't have you would have to have consultants to do the technical certifications that the Lee County staff has.
West Terry Street multi-use path, those dollars are really remnant from the lighting. The lighting was the last phase that came in on that project. The trailing costs are really over with there. There might be some landscaping replacement that we could utilize those funds for a little bit. We have one community, I think the mayor's looking at me, that's aware of.
Well, actually, I was going to bring up bollards, because I know we put them in a few spots, but we didn't do all of them, and there's still cars turning onto it like it's a road. So we might want to put bollards in all the spots.
Unfortunate, yes. We could certainly use those dollars for that. The bollards, just for perspective, would be a fraction of what's sitting there. We do have one community that is asking for irrigation on the north side of the pathway, where there's heavy oak trees. We told them we would look at it. It is far more complicated because there's a 8-inch power cable and telecommunications cables, but really the power cable. Tree roots, lots of oak trees. They want it to be irrigated and sodded. We are soliciting some quotes. We have in the past. Thought it would be a simpler project. It really doesn't seem to be, so that may be something that really isn't cost feasible, or we'll be bringing back to council, or council will be hearing about it. I don't know.
Artificial turf.
I don't think so. So those dollars, they're kind of there. They probably could expire. They could fuel a few things, but nothing to the order of magnitude that's
For
sitting
the
there.
Sun Trail, there is some additional expenses that will be coming out of that for the due diligence of the process that we're moving forward with. And that, the initial, it was 5 million, but there was some initial cost share done with the other jurisdictions on some survey work, but there are some additional costs coming, that will be cost sharing with Collier County and Estero on.
So Goodwin is designed, we have reviewed it as it has significant property impacts, the length of the corridor. This is one of the older platted corridors in the city, so the right-of-way is not wide enough to support any additional pedestrian infrastructure. So we've reviewed the design with our legal team, with an independent designer that would help defend the city in those right-of-way cases. Out of those meetings, we've coordinated them with our design engineer. They're really kind of all our engineers, if you can think of it that way, but one is looking at it from a very technical, legal perspective. And so there's some design modifications that need to occur. Those are going to require some additional expense incurred by our design engineer. So they have a change order. I've asked them to try and reduce the dollar amount, but it's a significant amount, and I'll be bringing it back to council probably in a few months or weeks. Once, if you choose to approve that, they will revise the design, which revises the legal descriptions and basically harmonizes, the best that we can between our legal team's review and our design team's design. And at that point, we will go to condemnation. So we've been stockpiling the dollars for this project. We have people that are quite interested in it. There has been a pedestrian that was killed along the corridor by a vehicle and a bicycle that was hit. So there are safety concerns there, and it will require right-of-way from every property just about along the corridor. So we've been very sensitive to make sure that we didn't take more than we needed. I guess I could have just led with that, but it is going to require some additional dollars to have the designer modify what we have.
Matt, what's the approximate length or number of blocks or?
I think it's just shy of a mile.
Okay, so that's about right. Yeah. That's a fairly lengthy project.
It's a complicated project. I don't want to waste your time, but it's a complicated project in the fact that you need right-of-way from just about every parcel along the way, and you have to be very cognizant that you're not taking more than you need, but that you're taking enough to build a safe design. And so we've worked hard to harmonize that, but unfortunately, it's generated a little more cost that you'll be seeing in a future meeting. It will take, once we start the legal right-of-way process, you're in a year standstill. So that legal process won't really start until some point late in the fall, based on what I've said to you. So from there, you will wait a year. And then once you get all of that property, then you can go to construction. One hallmark, it's the only bridge that we're really required to replace, and that is included in this pricing. Minor sidewalk and drainage improvements is more of a general category that we use for roadway repairs. Last year we did some work on Luke Street where there was a large pipe failure. It's a significant dollar amount. You bid the work or we cooperatively purchase it, but it allows us to achieve kind of mid-level repairs that aren't several $1 million, but they're not $20,000 either. We utilize that category for that. And usually those are tied to some kind of drainage failure.
And those are in the gas tax funding source, which is a restricted funding source.
Pine Avenue multi-use path, we have a $400,000 grant. It got delayed in our ability to use it because it's a federally passed through grant to the state of Florida. I believe that they are close to releasing those dollars, and the project is designed, and would be able to then construct it. It's a 10-foot path that latches on in front of the pool and moves north to really just the kind of the center point of the baseball field. So it would provide some connection there. I know Nicole's some of her phases to expand would allow for connectivity there. And it gets, currently there's a 5-foot sidewalk and a stretch of that that's right up close to the roadway. It would throw that sidewalk off and get people that are using that corridor further away from the motoring public.
Arlene, is it the mystery path that we came up with that's been there for years?
No, this is different.
That's what I thought, so that one's not incorporated into this. Just checking.
It's something we can look at when the design phase comes. We can look at what opportunities and what direction you'd like us to look.
With all the extra money we have.
The Dean Street path and sidewalk, the general fund dollars you see there are tied to some of the developer turnover. Derek may be able to speak to it or not, but it's really not about a public works project. It's about the developer that built the apartment complex and any sort of lingering liability there that within the turnover of some of the right-of-way that they gave us.
And the out years came out of a planning workshop, budgetary planning workshop as a placeholder, as that would be a priority of that you'd want to move into once we complete other projects. But it's fully out in out years.
And it would be, some form of pathway, most likely on the north side, that would allow, because it connects to the elementary school there.
That was the feedback we received, was safe, and there might be an opportunity to look at grant funding for Safe Route to Schools as well.
The West Terry South Sidewalk is under design. It's been a slow design because it has some right-of-way or right-of-way easement needs. Either way, you can think of them in the same way that they, you have to acquire those through a legal process. We've tried to tighten the design as much as we can for constructability to eliminate as many of those as possible so that you didn't have to condemn easements along the entire length. It is longer than a mile. I think it's 1.25 miles. It's a sidewalk on the south side. It also has utility conflicts because that's where your main water transmission line is. And so there are some issues with confliction of building on top of it and not having enough separation. So we're reviewing the 60% plans right now, and then we'll probably bring what we find to City Council at some point and say how would you like to proceed. We've looked at phasing. There is no real area where phasing seems to work. The needs are kind of throughout in terms of these construction easements. And so, again, condemning construction easements is going to add a year to the project and some additional process, but we are refining the design right now.
We had approximately 3 homeowners that were adamantly opposed to it.
We had a public meeting. There were certainly some folks that were adamantly opposed. The comments, it's kind of like reading tea leaves. I read the comments that we had as kind of 49 written comments. 49% were probably negative. 50 or 49 were positive, and 2% really didn't pertain to whether they were in support or against. So that is unique for us. Usually it may not be a clear watershed majority, but usually we don't have, I couldn't tell you that it's everyone's in favor of this and it's a few folks. I don't believe that's the case. I think the people that live along it are probably not excited about the project along Terry Street, and the people that live on the streets that do not front it but that would benefit from it are probably more in favor of it. It's a difficult project, but we do have just received the 60% plans and we're reviewing them, and I realize I'm taking way too long on this.
At Old 41 Beach Road, Rosemary.
41.
Benny Beach Road intersection.
Old 41 Beach Road intersection, those dollars have largely been a placeholder amount of money waiting for the PD&E study that FDOT is in the process of finalizing, where they identified quadrant roads that connected Beach Road to Old 41. They also identified a multi-use path on the west side and additional lanes. Those dollars can also be used, we asked FP&L to look at the possibility of undergrounding the power right at the intersection of Bonita Beach Road and US 41. They gave us a very inexpensive price to design that, so they are looking at that, and it could help you with the intersection itself. But largely they're there for, should the council want to implement pieces or portions. It certainly wouldn't pay for all of what FDOT came up with in their PD&E study by any stretch of the imagination.
Maybe Rosemary.
Rosemary drainage is a fully designed, fully permitted project. It's a 10-foot sidewalk on the north side, a 6-foot sidewalk in the south, curb and gutter, landscaping, and streetlights. But the good, bad news situation with that is we received an additional $2 million from a federal appropriation. Thank you, Congressman Donalds. But we cannot spend any money on construction. We cannot advertise for the construction services until we have that funding agreement. We expect that in the next couple of months. We have been in active conversations. As soon as we get that agreement set up, we will advertise it for bid and go to construction. So it's ready to go. Has been really probably for about 6 months, but we get this federal notification of dollars, and we don't want to jeopardize the availability of it.
Can we clarify East Terry real quick? 'Cause we're still planning to start this year.
Yes. So East Terry Street is about an $18 million project. It's fully designed, fully permitted. You've awarded the construction contractor. It's Quality Enterprises. We had a pre-construction meeting in May. They have a lot of legwork to do on a project of this nature in terms of ordering drainage structures and preparing everything. We anticipate construction will start based on that meeting September timeframe.
Great, thank you.
And once it starts, it is a solid 2-year project.
Pennsylvania.
I'm sorry, it's not turning. Pennsylvania Avenue corridor drainage and operational improvements is primarily funded through the CBDG DR grant from Hurricane Ian. We have been under the design process now for about 5 months with a designer, and we are working to bring the design to a point where we can have public meetings and then move into the construction phase. You know, the dollars have a tight time frame. We're working the design as fast as we can. You know, I figure we'll probably have public meetings at the earliest in the fall, which most likely means some point in the early winter. And then from there, we'll move it as fast as we can to the construction phase. It's a significant project. It goes from Arroyo Road all the way to Matheson Avenue. I think the improvements will be, you know, greater in some areas and lesser in others, given that length of the construction pattern.
And then conclude with Paradise Road.
Paradise Road is another project that is about 6,000 feet in length. It goes from Shangri-La Road to the north. It has been under design now for about just shy of a year. Our designer we held a public workshop sometime in the spring. It was well attended. We have a concept based on the initial concepts that were presented there, as well as feedback we received from the public. And it will be presented to City Council here probably in August, is my guess, for consideration approval. The one thing I do want to point out there is there are some options in terms of phasing the project, to build, maybe a section of it's primarily a pathway project, primarily to try and make broader pedestrian infrastructure both on the east and west sides of the road. I think there's some opportunities with this project to build it in at least a couple of different phases so that you could sequence the expenditure.
And at that, I think we'd like to recommend that we conclude going these line by line at this point, because it's a natural stop at Parks, which we can either continue during the council meeting. I know we can. We have an update, a financial update that we can continue. Is there any specific questions there? We can also meet one-on-one with you to discuss any of these projects as well and go into further detail and bring back each agenda coming forward, we will have an agenda item to discuss the budget, so we can recapture those as well. So at this point, I think we want to give you a moment before we conclude for the regular council meeting, is to see if you have any questions or any direction or anything you'd like us to bring back or to think more about, and then we can also continue that conversation during the regular meeting as well.
Sounds good. Any questions before we adjourn? All right, motion to adjourn.
The stormwater thing will be so close.